So yes, 120 years in, Diana Limon Mercado is now leading the Travis County Democratic Party. Please bring her back up to the stage.
Okay, new microphone, y'all. Yay, okay. I hope y'all are having a wonderful evening, enjoying our Democratic community and celebrating our party's leadership. We're honored to welcome Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the highest ranking woman in the history of our government, to Travis County. Especially during Women's History Month, if I might add. Every year, as part of our Johnson-Benson-Richards dinner, we honor an outstanding citizen and Democrat for their leadership and contributions. Tonight's honoree is someone that I'm humbled to consider a friend, a mentor, and an ally. Aimee Cunningham has led national and state organizations, raised millions of dollars for candidates and causes that she supports, and her biography is impressive. I encourage you to read it in the program. But what it doesn't capture is the personal investment that Aimee makes in people and the number of lives she has changed directly and indirectly. I met Aimee 10 years ago, sitting in the conference room of the AFL-CIO on a Saturday at Annie's List Campaign School, where Aimee taught us all the basics of political fundraising in 120 minutes. 5 years ago, I began working alongside Aimee as she took on the challenge of serving as the founding board chair for Planned Parenthood Texas Votes with Executive Director Yvonne Gutierrez. Last year, Aimee was by my side the entire way of my campaign, and then 12 weeks later, she was at my door with dinner after me and my husband welcomed our second daughter. There are probably hundreds of women who know Aimee that have stories like mine. Though the stories happened within the context of Aimee's political work, including things like co-chairing Wendy Davis's campaign for governor, serving on both the National Finance Committees for President Obama and Senator Clinton, and in her current position as chair-elect of the National Planned Parenthood. Woo! Though the stories always happen in the context of that work, the stories themselves are incredibly personal. Stories like what Emily Amps-Mora shared with me, Chief of Staff for State Representative Chris Turner. Aimee is by your side cheering you on in celebration when life is good, and she's a shoulder for you to cry on when you need it most. Or like the words shared by Austin Women Invest-Elect Committee member Elizabeth Bray, she called Aimee fearless, soft-hearted, generous, humble, and tireless. Aimee has helped to make change and build leadership for and by women all across our community, our state, and our country. The women she has supported are behind the scenes, and others are well known, like former congressional candidate and hopefully future candidate MJ Hager. MJ said, "Some people you call to volunteer, some people you call to donate, some people you call for advice, but you can call Aimee for all three." Cecile Richards also shared a little bit about her relationship with our honoree. She said, "It is an honor to work on the front lines with Aimee Cunningham in the fight for women's rights, whether it's taking over the state capitol or working with President Obama to get birth control for women of America. Aimee learned from her amazing parents, Cecilia and Garrett Boone, the importance of public service and staying true to your beliefs. Now, as the incoming board chair of Planned Parenthood, Aimee will be leading millions of volunteers across the country every day and standing up for equality for all people. Cheers to Aimee for showing us how to live your values with courage and joy." Thank you, Cecile. In talking with friends and colleagues about Aimee, it was clear that the best part about working with Aimee isn't just what she's accomplished, but it's the values that she brings to her work. Former Senator Wendy Davis shared this message. "Aimee is always working to find the next thing she can do to be a better citizen of the world. Recently, she and I have been working on increasing our own understanding of racial bias and systemic racism, and how we, as white women, can bring other white women into the conversation about these issues. A similar sentiment and a real-world example was shared by Amber Goodwin, founding director of Community Justice Reform Coalition, which addresses the impact of gun violence in communities of color. Amber shared this story and recalled when she and Aimee first met when Amber was working for Young Democrats of America. She shared, "Aimee took me to my first funder meeting. I was about to go ask a room full of mostly old white men for a lot of money. I was scared. I threw up in the bathroom. Aimee came and grabbed my hand, and she sat with me, and she reassured me that 1, I was as smart as everyone in the room, and that 2, she had my back. We went in the room, we got the money, and I've been fundraising ever since." Amber continued, "I think about her, a white woman of means from Dallas, telling a black woman from Midland that she would always have my back, and she has for 15 years. And I'll close with a final message from former candidate for Georgia Governor Stacey Abrams. Stacey sent this message for you, Aimee. She said, "Although I cannot be there for you in person, I wanted to express my thanks for the work Aimee has done to uplift women, champion choice, and defend democracy. Her impact and dedication to fostering equality and prosperity for all is cause for true celebration. We must continue to lift up the voices of every community around us so that all have the opportunity to thrive. Bringing progress to our country in this moment will be a challenge, but I know that when we fight together for what we believe, we can lead the way forward. I'm proud to join Aimee in doing my part. Please accept my gratitude for the work that you have done on my behalf." Thank you, Stacey. And a few moments ago, when we were in the reception earlier, former State Senator Leticia Vandepew also shared a wonderful story with me about remembering Aimee from years ago, coming down to San Antonio and sit next to her all day to do call time. But that's the kind of person that Aimee is. She jumps in when it's hard, she does the work, and most of all, she's an incredibly kind friend. I am so proud to honor this year's Johnson Benson Richards honoree, Aimee Cunningham.
I am really overcome by Diana's extremely kind introduction, and most of all by her friendship and from being in this fight. And it is so powerful to me to be here with you all tonight, especially in the company of so many of the women whom I love and admire. In particular, my mother, Cecilia Boone. Of course, my dear, dear friend Diana, my dear friend Wendy Davis, and so many other women, my aunt Nancy Word, and my dear friends who are part of Invest to Elect with me. I love you all so much, and it is such an honor to do this work with you. Not the least, of course, is to be here tonight with the queen of our hearts, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. Our Democratic Party in Texas looks very different than it did when I started working in politics 15 years ago, and thank God for that. Today, when I look at you all, I see what our party can be. I see a party that can be diverse and inclusive. I see a party that can advocate fearlessly for a woman's right to control her own body and her destiny by deciding whether or when she will become a parent. I see a party that can dismantle racism and white supremacy. I see a party that can stand up for the dignity, safety, and lives of the lesbian, gay, and trans members of our community. I see a party that can be a force for change in our economy by making our economy work by guaranteeing a living wage and pay equity for every worker. I see a party that can demand justice for survivors of sexual assault and which can hold perpetrators accountable instead of sweeping their actions under the rug. And finally, I see a party where people who look like me can step back to make room for people of color and especially women of color to step up. I see a possibility for all of those things, and yet this has not always or even often been the legacy of the Democratic Party. To move forward, we must face our past collectively and individually. We must atone for it, and we must be honest about how painful and confronting this work can be. But when I look at you all here tonight, I see what we could do together. And this is not just about winning elections, although I know in my heart that when we do these things, we will in fact win elections. This is about building the just and equitable society that each of us in this room imagines. I have been a fundraiser and an activist my whole professional life, so if you put me in front of a microphone, I'm gonna make an ask. My ask and my call to action to each of you is this: do the work. Do the work on yourself to see and confront your own biases. Do the work to atone for the times when you have let your biases influence your actions. And let me tell you that every single person in this room, including myself, has to do this. Do the work yourself to support women and people of color who are running for office. Do the work to support organizations that are led by, organized in, and elevate the voices of people of color and women. And do the work to demand that our party does this every single day. This work, as my friends at this table would say, is not for the faint of heart. This is hard. But when it gets really hard, think of Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, "You must do what you think you cannot do." Because when we do all of this, then and only then will we be able to dismantle white supremacy. Then we will be able to smash the patriarchy. We'll be able to build a state in our country that are built for all of our children, not just ones who look like mine, to succeed. Now is the time. This is the moment. Let's go do the work.